fliegen Stadt und Festung Belgrad. Wir schlagen einen Rücken, das man bunt ihn überrucken, mit der Armee wohl für die Stadt. Wir schlagen einen Rücken, das man bunt ihn überrucken, mit der Armee wohl für die Stadt. Als der Brunken abgeschlagen, das Land bunt mit Schluck und Wagen frei passiert in Donaufluss. Bei Semlin schlug man das Lager, alte Türken zu verjagen, ihn zum Sport und zum Verdruss. Bei Semlin schlug man das Lager, alte Türken zu verjagen, ihn zum Sport und zum Verdruss. Meine Baronen gibt er befehlen, dass man soll die 12 erzählen bei der Ruhe um Mitternacht. Da soll alles zum Pferd aufsitzen, mit dem Feinde zu scharmützen, was zum Streit nur hätte Kraft. Da soll alles zum Pferd aufsitzen, mit dem Feinde zu scharmützen, was zum Streit nur hätte Kraft. Prinz Eugen wohl auf der Rechten, denn lass ihn ein Höhe fechten, lass ihn lang und fängt Marschall. Prinz Ludwig riet auf und nieder, halt euch brav, ihr deutschen Brüder, greift den Feind nur herzhaft an. Prinz Ludwig riet auf und nieder, halt euch brav, ihr deutschen Brüder, greift den Feind nur herzhaft an. Prinz Ludwig, ihr musst aufgeben, seinen Geist und junges Leben hat getroffen von dem Blei. Prinz Eugen war sehr betrübet, weil er ihn so sehr geliebt, ließ ihn bringen nach Piraterei. Prinz Eugen war sehr betrübet, weil er ihn so sehr geliebt, ließ ihn bringen nach Piraterei.
Hi, sorry about the boomer tech here. Had a little technical thing here. I think had it a little bit messed up here with the little chatty window. Let's see if we can make that a little bit better at least. Let's try to resize this a little bit. I should have fixed this before. You get lazy. Figured I had this all figured out. Apparently I did not. How y'all doing today? Y'all having a good time? Have a good day? Had a good day? You all are happy? Happy as can be? How you been? What's up? What's up? Long time. No, see, a full month to be exact. Not sure what you've all been up to. Feel free to tell me. I have been fairly busy. Every day I'm hustling. A lot going on, fall kind of things kicking into gear, including Haven. We are, I hope, nearing, I hope, I'm not going to promise too much, but I hope we're nearing a breakthrough on the client rendering rewrite thing that we've been working on for such a long time now. And yeah, I hope we can. Hopefully, we can deliver on that before the end of September. But you never know. Best is not to promise much. Had a good couple of patches lately. I felt decent couple of ones. Yeah, I hope it's going to be worth it too. Ruby Red Chaos, the client rendering thing. It's it's begun to dawn on me that it's probably a more like the architectural rewrite that it has implied has been a bigger thing than I originally envisioned or understood. So had I known, we might have gone about this in a different way, but here we are. And one thing that I'm really looking forward to is, finishing that so that we can move on to bigger and better things, because I have a lot of bigger and better things that I'd like to get to. Including just, hello, Aussie Swagger, what's up, bro? What you doing? But yeah, this is one of the patches we had since last time. We added these fish. It's one of the major things we added. Kind of happy about those. We can have a look at them here as well. The little Blender file I made for them. Pretty scary stuff. See if we can make him swim. So this is one of the things that we added to the cave waters, the deep cave waters. Began by adding a couple of regular fishes couple of regular fish, I think the plural is, to the underground cave waters, and I figure, why not make an enemy out of that? One thing that struck me that we should do that we didn't do was to make it so that sometimes when you fish in the cave worlds, you should catch an angler. That would be really awesome. Also, I think we could do more with the angler lantern thing. See if we can make him swim. Here we go. Apparently we cannot. What happened to that then? Must have messed that up somehow. Oh, really? Huh. I just deleted that or what? Looks like it. Oh, it's good thing I have the animation exported then. This was a bit of a rushed implementation, so we did it in one night. So I modeled and textured and animated and everything this fish in one night, which was fishes. Yeah, I think when there are different types of fish, I think you actually say fishes, fishies. Tiger LRG 245 says, can we ask how the rendering rework is going, or should that be directed to Loftar? I guess you could direct it to Loftar, but I think I also already answered the question. I think we're making progress. I hope. That's, I kind of try to tune into what he's saying and kind of try to listen to the mood of what he's saying, and judging many years of experience and they speak of Kremlinology, the science of decoding with like the internal politics of the Soviet state back during the Cold War. I have a similar thing going with Loftarology. Try to parse the subtle hidden clues in his mysterious effluvia that flow from his mouth. Let's see if I adjust the camera a little bit there. But yeah, this is one of the things that we did. Cave Angler, pretty cool stuff. Another patch that I was kind of happy about was the patch before that one, namely Wish Upon a Star patch, where we added meteorites. And meteorites I thought were kind of cool. I'm not sure like the reward is worth it, but you can get pretty good iron ore. We realized that the quality of the iron ore is not all that important when you're spiraling, and which, feel free to chime in on that. Like, feel free to, for that matter, to like tell me more about your mining operations. Like, how do you mine? What's the end goal? Just get as much iron as possible and spiral it, or how do you go about that? Feel free to tell me more about that. But yeah, one of the things that we're thinking about is like, how should metal spiraling work? Because there are things I like about the mechanic. There are things perhaps that I don't like. I don't like that the iron ore quality apparently doesn't matter that much. Another thing that I do like is that there's a sink for metal in the spiraling industry, so which I think is awesome, because that gives you kind of the impetus to mine out huge areas and whatnot. But I thought the ore was kind of cool, so I was happy about that, at least, as you can use it as a cool stone material, if nothing else. So yeah, that's one of the things we did. Yeah, oh yeah, we added truffles. That's a new one. Added truffles. That's pretty cool. I think anything that gives you more reason to hold and keep pigs. I'm not sure truffles are worth it or good enough or whatever, but ultimately I suppose that's also a balance issue. Like, we can always make them better if need be. And what else was there? No, this is an old one, right? Yeah, that's an older one. That one maybe? Yeah, we did this one end of July, late July, with locks on houses. Kind of fun, small patch. I think, considering how small these patches are, like all of these patches have been produced in one night exactly, I think they've been pretty good. Yeah, Ozzy agrees. He thinks they've been good too. I'm glad we agree on that. And we haven't done a, full 3-day session patch in, wow, I don't know, forever, it seems like. It was a long time ago. It's been since like April or something. I don't even remember, but it's been a long while. So I would love to get back into some of that, because there are like several projects that have been, where we've been like, during the patch, we kind of, we always start by like talking a little bit about like, what are we doing tonight, blah blah blah, and there have been several ideas that have come up for things that we want to do, and many of them have been just ruled out on account of just we would need like 2 or 3 days to do some of them, and ruled out on account of us not being sure that we could finish them in time to deliver a patch on that day. So I see that we've had ample success with our chicken cooping since last time. Next time we recoup the losses and get ourselves some feathers off of these. We can study them and hopefully profit at the end of it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do today, really. I'm thinking I'm going to play for a little while, and then I'm going to start working on the next week's patch hat. Dr. Rogue Newmock asks about books. Tell me about books, Doctor. Yeah, I was thinking we could work a little bit on the patch hat for next week, save me some work next Monday, and I have an idea for it, so we'll play for a little bit, and then maybe hop on over into Blender and work on the patch hat. I have a pretty cool idea. I'm gonna make a bee hat. There's gonna be a bee hat. So John McCain died. That was, unfortunately, God rest his soul. I read a joke that John McCain died, and now they're considering giving the Nobel Peace Prize to his brain tumor. I felt that it was maybe a little bit too soon, but I also thought it was kind of funny. So, he's a neocon, warmongering, war hawk. Not a big fan. I actually, like, shame for shame, I actually supported him in the or kind of rooted for, I don't support. What does that even mean? I kind of rooted for him when he ran against Bammy, right? Yeah. And you know, actually, Obama kind of, you know, I think he you know, as 2008 that was when he, you know, after Bush, and like actually Obama, I kind of, you know, I don't really, you know, the only part of American politics that really affects me, but it does affect me significantly though, like is the, you know, the whole empire, and I think that's, you know, a reason why it's kind of legitimate for even for foreigners to have opinions about America or American politics, or why, you know, foreigners kind of need to have, is because America has opinions about everyone else's doings and business. So kind of the politics of the empire, I feel, do affect me in some way, shape or form, so I kind of take some interest in them. But Obama, you know, who's a nasty communist in many ways, actually kind of surprised me with, you know, being surprisingly, you know, at least in parts, good on foreign policy. So Dr. Rogue here was kind enough to light our fire for us. Thank you. And he's kind enough to, oh, he's passing us some bud, yo. Do you have a pipe, bro? Dr. Rogue, do you have a pipe? We need a pipe, sir. Hi? Question mark? You got it? Smoke one of these. Callie D says, was hopeful for Trump's isolationist and non-intervention ideas. Laughing my ass off, rest in peace. Yeah, word up, man. Weren't we all? Like, I think, you know, the real lesson here is that the politics of empire are not affected by who is or is not president of the United States. The course of the empire marches on, continues on, a straightforward, straight line. Thank you. We need to do an emote here to thank our great friend. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Rogue. Boom, 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 boom. Let's also do a step dance. And hand-holding degenerate says, damn, Jorb, when's the razor hitting that chin? Never, man. I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it. Like, when are you growing a beard? Like, so one of the memes were like, bro, do you even lift? Like, bro, do you even grow? You even grow the beard, bro? You gotta have the beard. Real man, have a beard. May or Veterinaries asks. Lunarius Haberdash says, hi there, Jorb. Hi there, Lunarius. May or Veterinary says, hi, hey, Jorb. Any chance we can see the backstage of World Generation? Honestly, you'd have to ask Loftar. Like last time we did a world reset, I was actually considering streaming while we did that, but there was kind of, you know, and you know, I in theory, I don't think that's a bad idea. Like, I wouldn't mind doing that again, but in practice, there are a lot of things going on, and there can be a lot of, especially if we mess up, there can be a lot of like strong emotions and stuff to deal with on the forums. And so there can be a lot going on, and like we you know, it can be a pretty stressed out situation. So sometimes perhaps it would be better to, or you know, perhaps it would be better not to stream that, but for that reason. But at the same time, I kind of don't hate the idea. We could at least, you know, stream for a little bit maybe and whatnot. But like the World Generation itself, I don't really. What is it that you imagine seeing there? Most of it is code. Like, there's not that much. There's no like you know, there's no neat video sequence where the world kind of materializes into shape. There's nothing like that. There's no actual, you know, all of that takes place as pure code. So I'm not sure there's that much interesting to look at, except, you know, our beautiful selves and whatnot. But let's feast a little bit. But yeah, it could be fun. I'm definitely not ruling out doing a little bit of a stream if and when we do where was it? Dakan asks, Jorb, what is your favorite chemical element? Wow. what do you even call those? Like the periodic table. What do you even call the periodic elements, the central elements? In Swedish you would call that grundämne, which means like foundational element. I'm not entirely. What do you call those in English? But I'm a huge fan of the alkali metals, like lithium, and I think is one, right? And what do you call? Yeah, I like the noble gases are cool, man. Like, you know, only one electron in the outer shell, and no, they have full outer shells, right? Exactly. Alkaline, yeah. It is a pretty. Yeah. Finish us, alkaline, yeah. Yep. So I like those, and you know the alkali metals, the very reactive substances, obviously cool. There was a Mythbusters episode where they dropped, was it rubidium, into a bathtub of water with, I'm not sure if it was staged or not, but the effect was kind of cool. Went boom, sort of. So yeah, I don't know, you guys chime in. What are your favorite elements? It was mentioned before, says Rebel Suthix. After you finish the rewrite, you were making a new housing mechanic. Can you example this? How will it work? Is it still happening? Yeah, it's definitely still happening. It's one of the big, you know, in big game hunting, they speak of like the big five, you know, creatures that beautiful creatures that you're supposed to shoot. And you know, like, what are they even? There's like rhino, like the five big African game hunting creatures: lion, rhino, giraffe, maybe, I don't know. Elephant, certainly. Lion, rhino, elephant, giraffe. One more, whatever. So why am I talking about that? Yes, exactly. So basically, a new housing model is one of the big five, so to speak. I'm not sure there are like five big items, but it's one of the big items that we want to do. It was a long-winded way to get to a short thing to say. Get to a short point. So yeah. Yes, housing model is definitely happening, and can I example it? I don't really know myself exactly how it would work, but the general ambition would be to have a more freeform building system. This was actually like when we did the old legacy version of Haven Hearth. We actually, one of the first things that we actually worked on at all was a system precisely geared toward that purpose. And we never finished that really because we ran into issues that we then at least weren't really able to figure out in a good way, because one of the inspirations for Haven and Hearth at that point was actually like The Sims. I think that was at like iteration 3 or something then. So I had actually grinded through a bunch of, you know, I played through the Sims game, thought it was kind of fun, and there were some RPG elements in there, like you could level up your character and, you know, get a good career and start earning the big moolah and you know, buy all the best, you know, optimize your bedroom and everything. Who doesn't want to do that, right? And so it was a lot of fun, and that was one of the inspirations. So basically you can imagine the building system in The Sims, and you would get closer to something that I would kind of ideally envision or desire. Not saying that we do it exactly like that, but I would definitely like to see, you know, some piece-by-piece placement of things like walls and blah, blah, blah. I like the problem that we ran into when we tried to implement that. Oh, I got attacked by a fish on the other client. I was like, who's fighting? Who's fighting? And yeah, so something like that. And I don't, you know, honestly, there's no, like I said this before and I can say it again, like there's no reason why Haven and Hearth shouldn't just have like the best freeform building system ever. Like we should that I think would be a worthy ambition. And it is in that vein that object control objects, which is a project that we've talked about at some length for some time, comes in. That's where that comes in, and that's something that we'd like to do. Object control objects is basically just an envisioned system for the game where in which certain objects could control and own, so to speak, other objects in the game, which means that the house, for example, as you enter the house could own you, and you could move, and you could move your character presumably in coordinate systems set and determined by the house, etc., rather than only being capable of moving in the world's coordinate systems. And that's, it's a fairly ambitious project, especially in terms of like how it relates to pathfinding and stuff. It could be pretty gnarly, but if it can be made to work, I think it would be a great addition to the game, and presumably something that could add a lot of longevity to the game in terms of you being able to have more freedom in terms of what you build in the game and how you design your base. And it gets kind of old seeing like the same, what are they, 6, 7, 8 building blueprints over and over again, and I don't want to add any more, because making a building takes some amount of time, and it takes a fair amount of time, and it's just I feel ridiculous every time I add a new building with just a slight variation in terms of like the size or whatever, because the sky is really the limit. The possibility space, so to speak, is so humongous that just scratching away at it manually seems very inefficient, like a very, very inefficient use of my time. So for that reason, I'm kind of holding off. And that also, like, there are several other projects that are obviously kind of related, like bridges and walls that you could walk on, presumably would come with that as well. And it's a big project, and it's not something that would be finished overnight. Hopefully it won't take like more than a year either, as the client rendering rewrite thing has. But yeah, regardless, it's something that I'm fairly pumped about. One of the reasons that I would love to have the client rendering rewrite thing finished. Yeah, Worm Online I think does that. I've never really managed to get into Worm, so I couldn't really. It seems fairly grindy. Like, I'm not gonna throw rocks in a glass house, but it seemed fairly grindy, so I didn't really get into it. But yeah, Worm does a lot of things right, I think. For example, the rendering distance of Worm is obviously better than ours. So that's also another project that we have on our very long-term list of things that would be really cool, is to have a decent rendering distance in the game. But given that we already have performance issues with the kind of smallish view that we were presently rendering, I don't think that adding more rendering is what we need to be focusing on right now, at least. More stuff to render. That would, plus I've spoken about this before, it would require a lot of stuff to change in terms of how the server distributes maps to the client, and all kinds of stuff. So, but it would be really cool, and that would obviously lead to like being able to play first-person mode would be cool, or at least like bad cam kind of behind the character, camera moving along type view, and so stuff like that would be cool. What is our ambition? Are we just fumbling again? Could it be? We need to catch a squirrel for our Forager's Path quest, and we're poaching for this guy. Could be useful to know. And we need to greet some dude and greet some other dude. Seems like that little indicator is moving. Let's go say hello to Siegdeck. See what he's up to. If we can get to him in a reasonable time frame. Speaking of boomers, we need to start, I mean, boomer jokes are kind of getting old. We need to start focusing on the Gen Xers. Those are like the next bunch of retards who need to be carried out on a stretcher. It's over. Just Gen Xers, just get out of here. You're old. The show is over. The music is played. I'm semi-kidding. I just noticed that a lot of times it was just very... They're kind of boomerish in their attitudes to life and everything, I find. Aren't we all? Rebel Zuthix asks, can we talk about a bee system? I love beekeeping in real life, but in the game, it's not much of a feature. No, I agree with that. That would be awesome. We should have wild beehives, and you'd need to, I don't know, I don't really know how you catch them from the wild. I suppose you kind of light a fire under them and somehow that knocks them out. Hello! Ziegdeck gave us a quest. Great Kreeland. Defeat a Mouflon. We can't defeat no Mouflon. But we can go speak to Nebelong. We're 39% in the fog now, so yeah, exactly. Some bellows would be cool maybe, and you blow smoke at the beehive, and that knocks the bees out, and then you can kind of gather the swarm up, pick the swarm up, and put it in your own hive, and then supposedly I assume that we'd add some quality mechanics for like grinding the bee quality up, or keeping. I don't really know how you'd keep tabs on that, but like presumably perhaps some of them, like maybe are bees a fluid? Are bees a fluid? Like, could be. Might just be more likely than you think. So you can keep them in a bucket. It's a barrel full of bees. But I assume that you can increase the quality of the bees in one way or another, and get this guy fox killed. Here's another example of like animal behavior that could improve, is like foxes should like do things with the rabbits they catch, like pick them up in the mouth and run away with them at the very least. Dee. Is that? No, I thought it was dead. I thought the magpie was dead, but it is not. Can we catch it? I don't think so, but we can try. No, not a chance, not a chance. Not on your life. Donio Smurf asks, when are you going to launch a new world? If you were me, when would you launch a new world? That's a good question. We are going to launch a new world as soon as it is opportune to do so. I'll put it that way. We don't have an exact timetable for it. And it's also like let's say I told you like, oh, we're gonna reset the world tomorrow, and then there's gonna be a new world, then everyone would quit playing immediately. So I can't really, like, there's not that much I can tell you, unfortunately. I wish there were like some way I could communicate my thoughts on that subject more like straightforwardly, but doing so only leads to negative things. And I think we've done pretty good patches lately, so there are definitely things that let's put it this way, there are things we need to get done before we can even hope to do a world reset. So look at food, for example. Food is effed up. It is not where it needs to be. So stat values are increased. People have no hunger because they have such kick-ass gear and so many like odd little bonuses that conspire to kind of like my boomer tech skills are pretty weak here. Like one day, it won't be today, but one day I think I'm going to try to professionalize my little stream setup here, especially if I'm going to do this every month. I should, for one, probably do like the encoding on a different computer, and it would be nice if I had like all the tech stuff on one computer and just played and stuff on the other computer, and blah 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 blah. And also, like, it'd be great if like I had the camera in some, maybe like some fixed position or something. Lunarius Haberdash says, "Can you tell us what you're thinking with food?" Yeah, I mean, basically, I just wanna. It's a good question because like one aspect of food that I'd like to, though I'm not sure how true it actually is right now. Like I would like it. I would like it if food were a meaningful sink. It would be awesome if food was always like worthwhile and interesting. It would be awesome if noob food was valuable to someone, for example. But not sure I see if we can do that or not. But like for the moment, I just like honestly, I just like the system to be toned down when it's completely broken. Might be the wrong word, but. I just want it to work better. I want hunger to matter. Right now, hunger doesn't matter, and that's not as it should be. And I think one of the reasons for that is that the symbol items are very inflated in terms of what they do and how they work. So that's one, like the primary factor. And I think there's a bunch of bonuses, like from realms, from truffles, from you know, being a cook, being like all kinds of bonuses that we've added to it, that I think we need to kind of run some math on them and like see what it actually stacks up to, and if that value that we arrive at is, you know, reasonable and as intended and such. So, and I think, I mean, obviously food being a problem has follow-up consequences in terms of like inflated charisma being a problem for questing, you get too much LP, etc., etc. So it just skews the entire grind to a character development, to bad and dark places where it should not be. Wow, that was a pretty strange anthill there. We found like 4 soldier ants, and it's not everything. So yeah, we finished a quest. Let's go tell Nevelung that we did. We were good boys. Still exactly what he desired, what he asks us. Let's see. Zunzoln asks, what's the size of current server infrastructure? Can you tell us how much resources do you use? Not much. Like I don't even know the specs of the server. I haven't taken any interest in that whatsoever. Like hard drive space is a non-issue. I don't think bandwidth is an issue. Maybe the bandwidth was a bit of an issue when we did the last world reset, now that I think about it. But like on you know, using more normal user numbers is certainly not a problem. I think, you know, given what we've handled at world resets past, I think it's fair to say that with present user numbers at least, CPU and stuff like that is not a problem either. I'm not sure what kind of stats you'd like to what you are really inquiring about there. Let's complete the gain 7 points of marksmanship quest as well. Yeah, satiations, I'm not happy about those either. I'm especially not happy, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's effed up about how drinks work, because you can, because it's gamey as all F, because, you know, you have to drink all the time to stay optimized and blah, 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 blah. I don't like, you know, just the gameplay of that, and you can drink away any problematic satiation, or most of them, and you can kind of chain the drinks so that you get rid of other satiations, and you can do all kinds of nonsense, which basically invalidates many of the systems that are in place. I also don't really like, I just generally don't like how satiations work or have played out. I like the idea behind them and, trying to enforce a variety in terms of the food groups that you eat from, but I don't like the material reality of what they are. So, those are my 5 cents on that subject, I suppose. Oh, bite up. I think there were some other questions here that I missed. Do you like Sabaton? I kind of like the romance of Sabaton, but the kind of Swedish Empire thing. But I'm not big on metal generally. I'm not a metal head, so. Those are my thoughts on that. I mean, I think there's an argument to be made that metal is, among the more symphonic, shall we say, of the musical genres of modernity, and I suppose in that, you can say some nice things about it. There can be some pretty interesting arrangements, and some pretty competent musicians in the genre, obviously. So I suppose that's something nice that we can say about metal, but. It's not my forte. Oh, here, take some chanterelles, buddy. They are my gift to you. Thank you for the pipe stuff and keeping me supplied with a steady supply of drugs here. I really appreciate it. Dr. Rogue. Dr. Rogue. We have a rogue doctor. Yarrow. Is that pronounced yarrow or yarrow? I've heard yarrow, and I actually kind of like yarrow, so I think I'm going to start saying yarrow. I have said yarrow in the past, but I think yarrow is probably better. Chime in on that. Let me know what you think. Something else here, right? Right. Size of current, a bucket of bees, size of current infrastructure. Yeah, if I miss your questions, just ask me again, and eventually we'll get to them. All in due time. All in due time. Let's make some feather dusters. See if didn't I bring some string along here? Didn't I string along some string? Can we get, asks Lunarius Haberdash, more hair beard options? Absolutely, just suggest hair and beards that you'd like to see and I'll do them for you. Vigilance asks, are you going to make more credos in the style of Potter where they completely revolutionize industry, or are you going to make more fun ones like Pearl Diver? Fun. I'm not sure what you want me to answer here, because it seems to me that you like neither of those. It seems to me that you're saying that Potter is bad because it revolutionizes an industry, and that Pearl Diver is bad because it's boring to get. I don't know. Tell me the credos you'd like to see and I'll make them for you. Honestly, what I would love to do, if and when we get a little bit more time for it, is I would love to see more credos, like more, deeper tiered credos, like credos that build on other credos. See, I had a bunch of ideas here. Credo. Oh. Here we go. Credo. New Creos. Bard, Beekeeper, Ranger, Archer, Forester, Miller, Milkmaid, Mountain Man. Ratcatcher I thought was a good one. Ratcatcher would be awesome. Court Jester, Lumberjack, Mystic leads to Hedge Wizard. Pathfinder plus Hedge Wizard leads to Druid, Elder Druid, Green Man of the Woods. Mystic plus Quarterman leads to Mason, that's a joke. Lumberjack plus Farmer leads to Hedge Wizard. Strider plus Cave Hermit leads to Spelunker, blah blah blah. Wandering Sage, Plains Rancher, Dr. Cook we've already done. Yeah. So I have a bunch of ideas that I think could be fun. Yeah, like Ratcatcher would be awesome. Like I don't know what you get from that. Maybe like a little tune that you can play on your flute to get rats to follow you around or something. It could be something meaningless like that. Lunaria says, speaking of which, do you think the Suicide Tango needs to be fixed regarding Credos? And if so, what do you think about closing that loophole? I think it's a controversial subject, Lunarius. It's been a long week, and you want me to just wiggle out on a controversial limb and say controversial things about a controversial subject like that. I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I mean, I do think I suspect there's some sacrifice to be made when you suicide your character. I'm not really sure how much of a science you have the kind of grinding your character up again down to, so I can't really suppose I'm not proficient in that. But there are a couple of things that bother me about it. Like, I think there's a pretty strong incentive to just suicide your character over and over again, to just really nuke the amount of quests that you have to do. So it's not that you suicide once, it's that you suicide like 1,000,000 times to get the amount of quests down to, like, what is it, 2 per level, which is the original. And I think that's a bit over the top, especially I don't like how that choice is so Boolean. There's like no incentive to stop suiciding at any point in that. I kind of don't like that. It'd be one thing if like there were a decision point there, like a decision to be made. Should I suicide once? Should I suicide twice? I could get behind something like that. I don't mind like the basic idea of taking a heavy penalty in order to lower the, like legitimately a very heavy penalty in the form of death, to lower your stats, or lower the amount of quests that you have to do. So I kind of wouldn't mind that, or I don't mind that rather. But I'm not sure it's particularly well implemented as is right now. So I suppose those are my thoughts on that controversial subject. Yeah, pretty much Lunarius. Yeah, I mean, I don't like hate the kind of general, eternal return theme that, could be established in the game by the fact that you sometimes, need to move on with a character. I'm not sure, like, should it really be the case that you should never die in game, that there can be no positive incentives to die, blah blah blah. I'm not sure that's how it's supposed to be. So I think it could be fun if you could die at times. Do. What did he say? Chupacabra says it's better 1,000 stabs in this. 1,000 stabs in the stomach is better than Credo Quest. That's a pretty harsh verdict there, sir, of the Credo Quest. 1,000 stabs in the stomach, really? Wow, man, 1,000 stabs in the stomach. Actual freaking stabs in the stomach. Won't be anything left of you, man. Like, your stomach is gonna be, it's just gonna be blood and guts all over the floor. You're gonna have to clean that up. It's just not. Are you sure? Like, couldn't a couple of Credo Quests be a little bit better? I guess, like, if you tell me, if you say so. What happened here? Oh, bad things happened here. Oh well. Depends on the size of the knife. That is true. Maybe a little tiny, the tiniest penknife ever. Garen05 asks, what are your plans for the write after client rendering rewrite? Would you switch to the next major project like object control objects, or would you do some intermediate size ones first? I think like the instant we deploy that or whatever, I would like to take just like 3 days out of a week and do a solid patch, maybe, or like maybe do like one intermediate project before we tackle the next big thing and kind of take stock of where we are. We haven't done a dungeon since we did Bad Dungeons, and I had a plan to make like 5 new dungeons this year, and that does not look like something I'll be delivering on. So I would like to make at least 1 new dungeon this year, so that could be one thing that I'd love to do. Ants are pretty high on my list of things that I'd love to add a dungeon for. I actually even have an idea, like from the new Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. Like when you find a shrine there, the shrine kind of rises from the ground in a cool way, and they have some cool little animations when it does. And I'm thinking, when you raid an anthill, suddenly the anthill kind of rises up. That would be fun. If you find out an ant dungeon. Pretty cool, huh? Tokmink says, thanks a lot for finally implementing the ability to store slime in barrels. You are welcome, you're most welcome, sir. It was nothing of it. It was really nothing. Det var verkligen ingenting, broder. Det bjuder vi på. But yeah, I like that as well. I've also enjoyed the ability to be able to store slime in barrels. So, we're coming up on a 1 hour mark, which means I think we can try to do some Blender stuff. Let's try to let's log out here for the time being, so that we don't get ourselves accidentally. I've kind of learned through hard experience that you need to be a little bit careful about remaining online in the permanent death multiplayer game. Patch hat from last week, duck cap, pretty happy about it. Little duck tail in the back here. Boom. So this is not the Blender file that we need and love if we're going to work a little bit on the patch hat, but rather what we need is the gubba file, where the gub is. And by gub, I mean, last time we touched this file, we were apparently working on the duck cap. So in a different Blender layer, you can see the Blender has the ability to choose between several different layers here, and we have various nonsense in various layers. Like here are armatures for bows and such. What did I do? Let's see. There we go. Here's the character. Jordan Cozy says, hey man, leaving for a job interview soon, but add fishable monsters in caves and better fish. Thank you. Will do, Coles. Both are on my list, so that's definitely something we're going to do. Good luck on the job interview, Jordan Coles. I'll send you a lucky view of the Cozy cup here. Stay strong, Coles. Nice of you to pop in. And Jarface Killer says, hi all. Hi all. Hi Jarface. So we're gonna make, usually when we're doing hats, we start with a cylinder. 16 vertices is a good place to start, I find. And we put that in the center of things, and we move it up by 1 unit and put the origin at the global origin, and put the origin also at the base of the cylinder. We then move the, how do we go about this the best way? We'll move the thing up to the gub's head, roughly, and we resize it a little bit so that we're roughly doing the right thing. We apply the scale so that this is not just a scaled up object, but we actually apply the change to the mesh data. And then we can start working on this. Blender gives you these cylinders with end caps. We can take those off. Don't need those. And then we can just select this entire little. Shit, I'm late. Forgive me, Jorb. It's okay. My name's Biggie. Dakin says, perfect. Styrofoam hat. Yep, we're done here. Call it a night. Thank you for the stream, guys. It was a lot of fun. Kidding. So right now, as you can see, it's just a cylinder rendered. Jordan Cozy says, so what are you working on at the moment? New hairstyles or a new store hat? I'm working on a new store hat, Jordan Coles. I'm saving myself some trouble next Monday. Is my plan. So yeah, we're gonna select this entire ring of vertices. Several ways you can go about that. You can either like edge select, and just select an edge and then Control E P, select all the edges, blah blah blah, or you can just drag select all the vertices. We'll just scale that down a little bit to something that fits. Princess Mandy 91 says, "Hey, hello, Princess Mandy. How are you doing?" Let's see. Let's Google bee hat. Let's see if we can find some inspiration. I was thinking that one was cute. That one was cute. Which ones do you guys like? I suppose that was kind of cute too. I'm thinking something more like this because I want to add little wings that flap to it. So that's one thing that I'd need. Sending a Trollex says hi. Yeah, bee hat. I like that one. There's a cute kid there. Maybe that's the one. Wow, man, that's pretty hardcore. That is pretty. Literal hive head with bees flying on it. Yeah, that's another good one, Coles. Actually, I like that one, but with honey like dripping out of the mouth, spewing forth honey. Yeah. So many options. That one. Little retard hat. Kind of looks like the wood creatures in Princess Mononoke or whatever that Miyazaki movie is called. I think honestly, like why can we improve on perfection? I like that one. Yeah, that first one is good. Troll access. Yeah, we'll try to do something along those lines. And let's see, how did we? Yeah, okay. So basically, what we want to do is also we need to smooth this thing so that it is indeed smooth, and then we'll make a little kind of cap thing here, and then we add another layer here, round it out a little bit. Then we will take these three, move them down a little bit, and then take the center one, move that down next a little bit. Select all the edges and create the inside of the hat. And now we can also move the hat to layer number 2 so that we can see the hat without seeing the character. So this is going to take a while. If you have good questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk away about what I'm doing. We're just going to create the inside of the hat, which is obviously significantly less important. So we're going to save ourselves both vertices and everything. Lunarius Haberdash says, have you considered doing something other than hat? I mean, hats are good and all, but I like styling capes or boots. Kind of been a little bit weary of setting the precedent that how are the lines arranged there? A little bit weary about setting the precedent that there are cosmetic slots for other item types. So that's one of the reasons why I've been a bit skeptical of, a bit weary of setting the precedent, quite simply. I'm not like excluding it fully, like. There were a lot of requests for tuxedos and stuff, so I guess that could be fun. But what we're doing now is that we removed half the hat and set the other half to be a mirror modifier, which means that we can change things on one side of the hat and have that reflected in the mirror of the other side of the hat, which is good. little bit taller as well. And then we need to do the eyes as well. So we're going to do those as little balls. Cosmetic furniture, skeptical. We did some cosmetic. We did some for sale furniture for Salem back in the days, and I just did not find that to be worthwhile. Like furniture take some doing. So I kind of don't want to waste good furniture on store. We don't need that many vertices for eyeballs. I said balls on stream. So you can only do so well. Obviously we're trying to approximate a sphere here. I know I can add a sphere directly, but it's not much problem. Not difficult to make one either. Make a little eyeball thing. So, yeah. Also the game balance kind of issue of you know, can you see what your opponent is wearing, and you know, it'd be kind of retarded, I think, or perhaps retarded is a bad word, but it would be kind of suboptimal if you could never see what anyone was wearing, because everyone is running around in, I don't know, caveman suits and you know, just dumb nonsense. So for that reason, I think, you know, the comedy, there needs to be some breaks put on the comedy, quite simply. Like that maybe. Oops. Whoops. Let's move it in a little bit farther. My name Biggie says, what about cosmetic effects, like a fire trail behind player, ray of sun on the player, or cloud of rain on the whole thing? Yeah. Like, honestly, wouldn't necessarily mind that. Maybe, like, even some emotes and stuff. I noticed that we played a game called Heroes of Nevereth, I think, Han. It was kind of a Dota-style game. And they had done some stuff like that, I think, where you could, like, have special emotes and shit that you paid for, and special, like, monster kill, you know, taunts and stuff, I think they were called. Okay, so the chat things. So what I'm doing now is I'm unwrapping this cylinder. And basically, you can think of this cylinder as a cardboard form that I'm cutting up and trying to smush flat against the surface. And how I smush it flat determines where it picks colors from when it's rendered. So we can see here that I have a little puzzle piece here, which is the flat version of this cylinder here, and I can move it about in this completely unrelated duck texture. And now we have an eye. Won't need to work any more on that. I think that looks good, right? It's about done, right? Right. I'm kidding, of course. We're gonna fix it up properly, but I'll leave it like that for now. Yeah, so, and I think, you know, Han did that, you know, somewhat, worked somewhat well, I thought. So I didn't necessarily hate that. So I could see that. Of course, always eager for cosmetic coracles. I think that would be awesome. Let's see if we can Google that. It's like flamingo, floaty. That is what those are called, floaties. A flamingo floaty. Like, check this out. Something like this. All the hot chicks and the floaty coracle with, this is a bit too big obviously, but you get something like that maybe. You switch out the coracle for that. I think that could be fun, and you know, like maybe a little lifeboat dingy, or you know, a bunch of cool ideas along that vein. So cosmetic coracles, I could see, definitely could see being a thing. Now, obviously, we need to unwrap the whole shebang, which means that we can do like that, unwrap, and now you can see that we have one kind of half cylinder or half sphere shape here for the outer side of the hat, and one for the internal side. Obviously, you realize that smushing a sphere cannot be perfectly projected onto a flat surface. This is one of the problems when you're making maps. That is why you have to use, you know, some projection, which will distort one area or another, distort one aspect or another of the map. And this is a bit of a science, but I just wing it, obviously. Oh, the program here is Blender, indeed. So that is the program that we are using. And now, obviously, the trick here when we're going to paint the texture later on is going to be to lay these out in, you know, a reasonable fashion where they take up as much texture space as possible, as is relevant to their relevance to the object. Like, for example, the inside of the hat is not as important as the outside, so the outside should take, you know, ideally a bigger texture space. You know, presumably the eyes are, you know, in terms of relative importance, they are relatively more important than what their size would otherwise indicate. So, you know, you could scale those up a little bit and blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. And then we're going to add the antennae and to the thingamabob. And we're just going to zit. It's just another cylinder, obviously. So we're going to, oops, scale that a little bit. And how did they look in the, okay, so kind of waving all over the place. We'll animate those a little bit later, but we'll make them fairly spindly and thin. Maybe thereabouts, maybe. And then we will select all the vertices, extrude. We get another ring of vertices. We can extrude again, get a second ring of vertices. Where are we going with this? I don't even know. Maybe over here. Scale it down a little bit to kind of thin it out a little as we approach the head of the antennae. And then we can kind of close it off with a little bulge. That's what she said. Kidding. Joke. That was a joke. Somehow the chat is talking about bots. Please explain to me why we're talking about bots. Yeah, Princess Mandy says, make hat doing bzzz. Yeah, giving it a sound could be an idea. H2O Best says, it's like more to the alien, not a bit. Yeah, maybe. Hand-holding grenade, hand-holding degenerate says, Jorb and Sola, do you have any other occupation or job aside from making things in Haven? No, not really, no. I'm mostly making things in Haven. It's been kind of interesting, actually. Like, several times we've thought to ourselves, like, this is not, you know, profitable enough, we should go do something else in life, blah, blah, blah. Like, for example, 2016 was a really weak year for us. We had, you know, obviously the release of the game in 2015 itself was good, but then, you know, we effed up the release in several ways, so, you know, there was a lot of bad feelings, and through 2016, you know, the game was also obviously, you know, I don't want to call it underdeveloped, it was what it was, but, you know, it's been significantly more developed since. There was perhaps not, you know, as much to do as one could have hoped or wished for. So 2016 was a weak year. And several times we kind of thought to ourselves, like, you know, it's just not worth it, we're not getting anywhere, blah, 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 blah. But every time we've done that, we've kind of had some event or other that, you know, has kind of made us rethink that. Like, for example, the last World Reset was very, very strong for us in terms of, in monetary terms. We made a lot of money, you know, by the relative standards of developing a small, you know, indie MMO, but we made fair amount of money on the world visit, so that I was kind of happy about. And that, you know, kind of has carried us this far, at least. You know, obviously now that the user base is lower, you know, income correspondingly is lower as well. But for the time being, at least, we're definitely doing this, and yeah, pretty much. So, can you make the right antennae slightly crooked? Yes, I can, but if we're gonna go hogwash that stuff, we're gonna have to wait a little bit. I'm gonna do a wing, and I'm thinking, like, why are we starting with a cylinder? It's like, ye of little faith. So we're gonna remove two faces there, remove the caps, and then we're just gonna take these two edges and extrude them. Zit, scale them along the X and Y dimensions. Do another bunch. Scale. Like that. Smooth. See the method to my madness? Are you beginning to? And then we're gonna extrude. Scale these up a little bit. Move these. Scale, move, scale, move. And then we will close this up in the best possible fashion. Just maybe take those. Let's do one more. And then that. Did you ever think about taking inspiration from something like Path of Exile, where they are making new leagues every 3 months, where after the league end it merges with the permanent league? Yeah, definitely. I don't hate the idea at all. Like, yeah, definitely. I could see making something like that. We like the exact like server disposition and how we like should configure our, like, have multiple servers, how those in that case should be configured, if and when they should reset, you know, on known frequencies or unknown frequencies. Should that vary? You know, there are a lot of things that goes into something like that, or, you know, a lot of considerations one could have or ideas one could have about it, and I'm open to all of them, basically. We'll just place that in the middle, and there, and then we're actually going to mirror this so that we can get a nice and presumably flat wing. And we're going to take the bottom layer here, make sure it's flat and nice and even, put it at 0, and now we should have a wing which we can unwrap. Apply the scale first to get a proper unwrap. Now we have a nice and decent little unwrap for the wing, and we can also notice that the wing will now be reflected on the lower side, so we'll only have to paint one side of the wing, which is, you know, a lesson that you learn the hard way when you kind of teach yourself to model, is that you don't want to unwrap things multiple times. You want to paint things as few ways as you can. Also, like, you get the symmetry for free, which will add to the quality of what you're doing. So, let's see. I'm really not a fan of splitting up the world. Yeah, there's an argument against that, but I also don't think like it need not necessarily be that bad of a thing. I don't think. Like people who are eager and excited about world resets can have them, whereas people who want to play in a permanent world, which is something that Haven has never had, mind you, so that could be cool in and of itself, I think. So I'm not at all opposed to the idea. It's just kind of a matter of figuring out the hows and whens. So we're getting places with our little bee hat. We can take a look at the model as it would look on the character presently. How do bees really look in the facial area? Bee. Google bee. Bee. Face. Close up. Google knows what I want. Have little mandible things, right? Do they? Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-dum, ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-dum. Will we permanently die, asks Grumpy One, if we accidentally sting someone using this hand? Yeah, bees do die, right? When they sting someone. They just leave the whole stinger behind, right? Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Mother Nature is cold, but then again, I mean, I guess human males do significantly worse things when they go to do battle, manly combat. There is no end to the horrible things that men do to one another and to themselves. To themselves mostly. That is a result of our fallen will. We are fallen creatures, and our will is misdirected and prone to evil and error. Wiggling stinger and pollen stream trail, that would be cool. Pollen stream trail could take a little bit more doing, and it could definitely be done, but not sure we have time for that tonight. We're gonna do a little stinger here. Maybe somewhat smaller, right? Should it be more like a straight stinger, or maybe a little lower? That looks okay, right? And then, combat is obviously another thing that I'd like to look at. We do have some ideas that we've developed from last thing. One thing that we kind of liked in terms of how Legacy did its thing was that Legacy had like this shared space where there were certain variables that were combat local, like intensity and advantage and stuff, where you could kind of have some interesting game theory games going on in terms of how and when to use those as to your advantage, like when, for example, to sting like a bee or use the invocation of Scald or blah blah blah. So where you go Googled goats, how they looking? Not sure I understand that, Princess Bandy. Do you not approve? Do you disapprove of my goats? Satan, Jesus Christ! We'll add some slight asymmetry there to the underside of the hat. Do you want the mandibles, guys? Or the whatever those are? He has. What are those? Those are just like little arms? Not sure I can say they're pretty. They're kind of cute. Moving wings, definitely, of course. We're moving the wings, sir. ladybug. We could do a ladybug hat as well. Like, I'm not opposed to that, but we're gonna paint it. I think it'll look better once we get a little paint on. So yeah, I think we're ready to take a good, honest look at. I think we have most of the geometry that we want. I think we can take a good, honest, and hard look at the layout of the hat. This is one of the more important parts. Chat window kind of blocking me here, but whatever. So we'll scale that up a little bit. Put it over here. Kind of tucked in decently at least. There's some waste of space down here, but you know, perfection is an affront to the gods. And then we take the inside, less important, so we give that less space. Move it out here for now, and then we take the wing, semi-important I guess, put that there. Take the eye, very important. And then we take this, we hadn't even unwrapped that. We need to unwrap these. So usually the underside of this thing, or of a thing like this, is probably a good place to unwrap it. You kind of want to unwrap it where the seam is least visible. So go for that. So any ideas on expanding the use of swirling vortexes in any way from how they are currently implemented? Why not? Any ideas are most welcome. I wouldn't mind like being thrown into a strange dungeon or having some sort of other random adventure when you sail into a vortex. It would be fun if there were like a plethora of like if we had them like being washed up on a strange beach somewhere. It could be fun, or like an island, or you know, the island of Dr. Moreau, maybe some little dungeon type thing. You know, it could be fun. Like there are a lot of things we could do with it, obviously. So. Not at all opposed to it. Yeah, random chance for a dungeon would be really cool. Yeah. Not at all opposed to that idea. So we're just going to scale that down a little bit more, put it over there maybe, and then we're going to do the wing. And shit, I don't know. Shit, I don't even know, bro. And we'll kind of try to maximize our use of the space here. Probably better that way. It's not like terribly important. We just try to make as good use of the space as possible within reason. Stinger. Don't think that's too terribly important. It's like mostly monocolor. Fits nicely there. We get to use a lot of space there, and then the eye will scale that up a bit, give it a fairly, so there, boom, boom. Election time is coming up in Sweden. Controversial subject. That I don't really want to talk about. I'm obviously not going to vote. When they put the king on the ballot, I'm going to vote for him. But since I can't vote through true godly authority, I shall not vote at all. And that feels pretty good. Just stay out of the whole mess. I think everyone is predicting a pretty major victory for right-wing populism in one shape or another, which you know, is an unfortunate, or I wouldn't even call it unfortunate. It's a consequence of the terrible liberalism which affects Sweden. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, and Sweden has been a basket case of liberalism for quite some time. So. You know, you reap what you sow and all that. But boring subject, let's not waste time on that. What shall we call it? Bee hat? Bee hat? Quite something? Vigilance asks, is this going to be a gold or a silver plus gold hat? I don't know. What should it be? What did we do last time? Let's see, well, what did we do last time? Last time with the duck hat we did gold and silver, so this is going to be gold. We do those on alternating those every week. So now we're going to add a texture to this. New. Click down here. I hope you can see what I'm doing. New texture. We'll call that bhat.io.md.r2.s.text. Those are server internal things that determine like the map mode and blah blah blah, all kinds of things like that. How do I do that with it? Save as image. Here we'll save that. We have saved a black texture, and now if we look at the our little bee, we can see that it is indeed black. Now we are going to go into texture paint mode, where we see that the last texture we painted in this mode was the duck cap, obviously. So we're going to go in here and go for the bee hat. Boom, there's our bee hat. Now if I can find my little trusty Panama bob, which I use with the little bamboo tablet, pen tablet thing here, my paint and draw. So we're going to do that, and we're going to go in here under brush. We're going to go draw, and we're going to get started. One good idea is probably to put down some ground colors before we do anything else, and we can basically now I move in here as well. Let's also, so I split the wings from the main hat in order to, I'm going to look at bee hat here, we can turn off the main bee hat, and now we see only the wings, which is what we want, and then we'll just paint those. We could paint in, and sometimes there are reasons to do that, like we could paint over in the this window as well, if we want to paint in the 2D space rather than the 3D space. And for example, when you're putting down ground colors like this, you want to make sure that you cover the edges somewhat so that it doesn't pick up black, because sometimes the seam can become visible here if you don't like extend the color a little bit beyond the area of where you actually want it to be. So now we're going to go in here and, I don't know, do some little pattern, I suppose. We will try to do a little bit of a, I don't know, I kind of like these round swirly pattern things, I'm sure you've noticed. So we'll try to do something like that. Try to use a bit more of a reasonable brush, maybe. A bit stronger brush, could probably do a little bit stronger as well. And now we're applying color here to the bee hat, and we'll do a little twirl up like that, and maybe a twirl like this, somewhat like that. As you can see, I can step back and forth if I'm not happy. Try going back to drawing like freehand in real life after getting used to drawing on a computer. It's very, very an experience, I'll put it that way. So now we've drawn something, and we obviously want there to be just spruce it up a little bit. Should probably have done this first, but oh well. We'll just try to add, basically what I'm trying to do here is just add more like a general texture kind of to the wing, as opposed to any real pattern per se. Kind of trying to add some light and shadows and stuff in business. So there are probably a lot of you who are a lot better than I am at this, so just don't laugh at me. I'm a sensitive artist, so paint this a little bit more. A little bit of a brighter color here to add more of a highlight. So normally I'm free to make all my shitty mistakes without the careful eye of John Q. Public breathing down my neck. There we go. We'll leave it like that for now. Not really done with it, but we'll leave it like that for now. We'll save that image. Make sure you save often. Don't want to lose your progress. And as you can see, it's obviously mirrored on the other side there. So now we're gonna go back, look at the bee hat again. We'll do, I think you tell me where you want to work next, but I'm thinking, like, let's just get the main colors down. So we'll separate those out as well. And now we can turn off that stuff, and we turn off the wings as well. So basically, if we look at the hat, we have a black band kind of slightly above the center of the thing. So we're going to basically start with a base color again and again. Shouldn't wings be transparent, asks a concerned hearthling. Yes, they probably should, and we will make them transparent. But transparency is not something that I paint here in Blender. Transparency is a material setting, which if we manage to get that far as to actually put the thing into the game, we'll show you how we do that. So that's a material setting. That's not something that you'll notice that, for example, the ladybug does have transparent wings, but those are not like drawn into the texture, but rather are applied as a material setting. So we'll look at that later. Yeah, Legacy was special, definitely, no doubt about it. Like, I thought we did a fairly good job of converting it to 3D in terms of look and feel and whatnot. I mean, it's basically all my eclectic way of drawing. So, H2O Spear says it will look nice with glass style on it. Yeah, I would agree with that. But I kind of effed this up a little bit. I want a darker yellow. A darker yellow here, maybe. No, I want one that is maybe more orange. That's more like it, right? More goldy. But what we can do is use this opportunity to add like more texture to it anyway. So we'll add but I thought that looked pretty cool, for example. And then we'll add a dark band on the little winged bandit. And how do we want that to look? Something like that. So we'll add that in. So how was it in? Yeah, it was kind of right smack dab middle in the eyes, middle of the eyes. I'm gonna draw that in. It's not like super important that we get it right the first time. And now we can look at the whole thing. Getting places. I think we can now keep the other meshes visible while we paint in some details. And add some little hints of stripes around the base as well. And then we want to go with kind of a dark or lighter hue here, and kind of paint a little. It's a good question, like how much real light should one try to add? Like a lot of the light is obviously added by the rendering program in terms of you know, highlights and stuff, but I find that it's still a good case to be made that you need to add like a little bit of play of light and shadows in the UV map as well. So, but what do I know, really? Just kind of something like that, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Say that, and now that doesn't look cute at all. Everyone is a critic. Everyone is a critic. Let's see. Let's do the eyes. Attempt to do the eyes. We will try to remember to say, "Hey guys," says X Bubbe. Hello X. What's up? What's up, bro? Grumpy One says, "I'd wear that hat in real life." Now we're talking. That's the spirit, sir. Okay, so it had kind of cutesy, cartoonish type eyes, so we'll try to go for that as well. We'll start with yellowish, and we'll do the entire eyeball. You said balls. He literally said balls. We'll add some color to the whole thing. Just draw these full on yellow for now. So are there any politics in game at all these days? How's it going for you? Or is just community fair guys just dominating the entire server? Or is just the permanent peace of boredom reigns? Or another thing I'd like to get working on, by the way, is a siege system that provokes more conflict, but not too much conflict, because that's not fun either. So let's see. Let's paint the eyeballs themselves. Don't want to use like full on retard white. A little bit of white is perfectly acceptable. And then we'll turn off that. Try to make this. You never know like what part of a mesh that you're actually going to see really, so try to be somewhat diligent and make sure that, you know, for example, if I were to rotate the eyeballs a little bit, that wouldn't look too shitty, and stuff like that can be good to keep a small eye on. Lunarius Haberdash says there's been some shit going on with people breaking roads to the community fair and some internal politics between Northern Kingdom and Camelot. Not a lot going on. What do you think about making a hat with your face for like dog? My face, a hat with my face. That would be fun. Everyone could look like Jorb. It would be like, I'm Spartacus. No, I'm Spartacus. Whoop. Looks kind of tired, maybe. Should he be more awake? What do you think? Let me know in the chat. Comment, like, subscribe. Yeah, plays B. I love it. Maybe you should look a bit more alive. Move that up a little bit. Like angry bee. then we'll draw the stinger thing. Paint, rather. Iterate a little bit and try to find a cool look. Now be smoke some marijuana. Illegal. Don't like the eyes. Well, can't convince everyone. Can't sell it to everyone. But yeah, more dungeons would be cool. It's one of the things that I definitely like to add. Walrus dungeon, we talked about that a while back. Want that. Imagining in an iceberg. Next time we work on the map generator, I'm actually want to do oceans in some capacity or other. I'd like to have at least some tiles of salt water, and I would like to have the ability to add like whales and stuff. I think whale fishing is long overdue. So Utsu asks, have you thought about making an animated hat? For example, those wings would move. That is exactly my plan, Utsu, so we're gonna get there. Don't you worry about it now. Bruh. I'm gonna try to work a little bit faster here and not spend too much time on tiny little details. So we need to iterate over the texture at least one more time, but oops, whoops. Whoops, whoops. We'll save that. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, we're getting places at least. Just, what do we do about these? I think we try to give them a slightly, you never ever really want to use like black, pitch black, full on black, or for that matter, white, full on white. Better to use like a shade of gray, either way, like, or a shade of brown or something. Like, you rarely, because if you use full on black, you have no room to adjust the color downwards if you want to do that when adding shades or whatever. Plus, in real life, pitch black like that, I think is, or pure color like that are rare occurrences, I think. So probably better off generally saving yourself some space on the, leaving some space on the ends of the spectrum there. That we didn't really get the stinger perfectly covered in there. Do that. Rip. Limited space continents that can be moved between would definitely mean interesting things for communities. Yeah, and there's a intrinsic problem, I think, with sea tiles, and I feel this in a lot of games, and honestly, I feel this about the ocean in real life as well, is that it's kind of just blue desert. Which I think is problematic. It's not a lot of fun things to do there, but I suppose that's really up to us to add the fun things. So we have, I should have started this earlier. I'm thinking, time flies when I'm doing this. We have already spent almost close, we're moving in on 2 hours here, the 2 hour mark. We're going to cut it off at the 2 hour mark, but I want to show you a little bit of animation before we leave this off, and I'm going to work over and iterate on this a little bit more. We'll see. I'll keep working for another 15 minutes or so. We'll see how far we get. But I want to show you some animation. So as you can see, like the base colors are kind of down. What we're going to do is we're going to touch this up. We're going to go in. We're going to add more shading to, like, for example, the layer around this part here, around the face. We're going to add more shading, and we're going to do the same for the wings. We're going to touch them up another time. We're going to add texture to the antennae and to the stinger. So it's going to look a lot more crisp once we're done with it. This is by no means finished. And kind of wish now that I can see how it looks on the character. And we're, when we'll add these. Don't think this is too soon, so we can add these back. Add that back. So they're basically. Utsu says, "You should win an award for the best developer in the world. You're amazing." Thank you, Utsu. That's very kind of you to say so. You flatter me, so. Bam. Yeah, animation. We're going to do some animations. Basically, there are two techniques for animation that we use. There's shape animations and there are bone animations. So a bone animation is what you can see displayed here. And the character, I've shown you this before when we looked at the mammoth skeleton and everything. And basically this is, if you need to, like, go to the party rally or something, then you use the bone animation. And but for this, for simpler animations and for animations that are more amorphous, that is to say, we want a higher degree of freedom in terms of how we can move the vertices in and around when we animate. The bone animation is good if you have a large area of vertices that you want to move in, like, predictable ways, for example, when you're doing a character or when you're doing a monster or whatever. But when you have more amorphous stuff that you want more degrees of freedom in terms of how you use the how you move the vertices, we use something called the shape animation, and basically that's. I'm going to try to show you a little bit of. I call this, like, we can call it whatever we want. We can call it flap. D120 is just the duration in milliseconds, I think, and R is $R means just pick a random frame. So the frames that we establish for this will not be played in sequence, but rather randomly. So then we're going to go over to the dope sheet, and we're going to move to the first frame, and we're going to do the first frame. So let's say that we want to give the bee some movement. And before we do anything, we're going to have to apply the mirror mesh, because that can indeed not be done after this fact. So we're going to do that. Apply the mirror mesh for now, at least, and add that shape key back, flap. But yeah, oceans would be cool, and because moving about, and yeah, Blue Desert, they are problematic in that sense, but I think, it could be up to us to fill them with interesting things. There are whales, there are, islands and whatnot, and plus I think we could, just make them proportionally kind of smallish oceans, but, oceans that cover a couple of macro grids would still, I think, feel kind of sizable and impactful in in-game terms. So now that we have established this little thing, we can do this. Just basically take these vertices, move them however we want. Say we want to move those up a little bit. So let's say he's flapping here. And since this is going to be randomly applied, we want to kind of, it's not terribly important how we move the vertices. One thing to keep in mind, I suppose, is to add motion to several places, so that it's not just the same couple of vertices moving every frame. We'll make the eyeballs move around a little bit as well. So now let's call that frame 1. Now we're going to add frame 2. Flap D120, no, D1, on top 1, quite simply. We'll add another frame. Move that up 3. Okay, so now we're back at normal. We'll make this kind of things are going down a little bit. And we'll make the antennae move too much. Don't want to go overboard. So this is the kind of nitty-gritty stuff that I do for you every week. Move little dots around. That's what I do for you. And one eye looking up and the other eye looking down. Kind of crazy bee. And the stinger pulsating a little bit. That's what she said. And rotate. So now, oh, that looks a bit too retarded for my taste. And now, as we can see, we're getting movement, right? 3. We'll do another one. Flap 2. Make the wings go slightly up here. This effect. Move the wings in their entirety. Now convert to STL and print it out in plastic. Yeah, that would be fun. Actually, my close relative of mine has a plastic, plastic true 3D printer. He uses it for work. He like does technical, machine parts and stuff. So prints them out to just kind of get a feel for them before ordering them in real materials. So and it's really cool. Like you can do a lot of fun stuff with it. And I'm kind of don't have the space for it really, but it would be awesome to have it. I would. Roboboy333 says, please actually do that for me. Please, I can print it. If there's a particular Blender file you want, I could perhaps post it. I wouldn't mind making some of the resources public, but you would probably have to convert it yourself. I don't think export. I don't have STL. I actually do. I have STL. STL. I can export to STL. So if that helps you, then that would be no problem for me to get that for you, I suppose. You kind of want to be selective about what you get, I suppose. Will you add sound? Not sure. The sound is kind of controlled by the bone animation, unfortunately. So since we're not using bone animation, there's no support for doing that presently, I don't think. No good one, though it would be like trivial to just add. We could probably add we could definitely add just a static sound effect to it. Okay, so as you can see, we're getting places. We would probably need to add end that on frame number 9. So now we are using 4 different frames. Ta-da! We're gonna turn that, and we probably rotate it. we would obviously little jerk at the end of the animation wouldn't be there if we put this into the game, because it would interpolate between the last and the first frame, which it doesn't do in Blender. So I think it looks kind of cool, right? It's kind of a fun thing, but we're not done with it yet. As said, we've done like half of the animations maybe, and we're gonna do some more painting. Yeah, the eyes rolling on the floor laughing. I love those. And the little stinger is bobbing around, and could perhaps add a little bit of animation to the main body of the bee itself, so that it kind of pulsates a little bit. But this is kind of what we would be going for. Could probably add it to the bone there, and then add some good animation to the character, like maybe something. So now these animations are of different lengths. So. So they're not perfectly synced. If when we actually add this to the game later on, they're going to be, the bees is going to be moving all the time. So let's put some more paint on it. Let's draw some more, and we're going to have to call it a night pretty soon here. So, but let's did I mess that up? No, I did not. Okay. So free the bee. Free the bee. Oh, by the way, speaking of Free the Bee, do you remember the scene in Grim Fandango down by the docks where there is a strike? The sea bees are on strike, and they are chanting like these pseudo. And I think you have to bring them the Red Book of Salvador Limones, if I remember it correctly, so that they are like inculcated with Marxist ideas. And is that when they go on strike? No, they are striking, right? When you find them, I don't remember, but. It's a great game, great scene, and they are chanting "Sea bees, free bees," which is fun because they want free bees. That is what they're after. So yeah, I'll show you a little bit of what we would want to do here. Like ideally, we would want to touch this up a little bit more, maybe add some texture, like some. Imagine there were patterns here. Basically differentiate it a bit more, make it look less blocky, and keep on going with that with the entire thing. So, and we'll add some color to the stinger as well. Add some kind of banding to it. I think it could be fun. Blah blah blah. I have a pretty long way to go with this still. I think I'm going to call it a night here. This was a lot of fun, I thought. I hope you enjoyed watching me do a little work, and this was also useful because now I have half of a hat for next week, so I won't have to spend as much time on doing hats, which is kind of it's fun, but it's also a bit of a chore every Monday to have to think of a new hat and execute it. I kind of been happy about the fact that we have been pushing new hats regularly. I think that adds value to the gold and silver levels of the subscription, and it just shows some amount of commitment, I hope, for and from us to the game. So where do I want to go with that? Yeah, just want to save that. So, been happy about that. Hope we can keep going with that. Boom, 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 boom. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I hope you derived value and pleasure from it as well. And yeah, I'm always on the forums. I try to. I still have my backlog of critiquing ideas and bugs, but I try to answer PMs in a somewhat timely fashion. So if you want something, you can always PM me on the forums. I'm Jorb, and Look in the mailbox in the game, please. I will, Princess Mandy. Romb and bomb and bump. A nice little evening has set on our little camp here. Princess Mandy, you can visit me. Oh wow, man. There's steak. Wow, midnight blue cheese. Like a lot of, and a painting. Which displays red hair, I think. Let's put it up on a wall so we can, or drop it on the ground maybe. That's awesome. Wow, thank you. That's really kind of you. That was really kind of you. Thank you so much. Hallelujah. All praise the end is done. Alright. Alright, thank you so much, guys. This has been a lot of fun. Time flies past when I'm doing this. A lot of fun. Thank you for being here. Thank you for talking with me. Thank you for interacting with me. Thank you for caring about my game. God bless you all. Jesus loves you. I love you. Please play the game. I'll talk to you later. There will be a September stream, obviously, and I'll try to announce it a little bit better beforehand. I always say that, never deliver. With only 2 people. Alright guys, take care, stay safe, in-game, out-of-game, blah 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 blah. Love you so much love to all of you and all of everyone, and you know, just life and making games, it's fun. You should try it. Saludos amigos. I will talk to you later. See you in September. Stay safe. Bye guys.